My guest on this episode of the Neil Wilkins podcast is David Gottfried. Now, David founded the World Green Building Council, which is a movement that spans, get this, 85 countries and billions of square feet of certified green buildings. David's a Stanford-trained engineer, full-time author, and a keynote speaker. And we're going to be appreciating his upcoming and fourth book, Regen 360, designed as an operating system for a regenerative Earth, which is going to become available to us in October of this year. Now, the book is going to go beyond green building to take on a really hard question. What if the operating logic underneath our civilization is the problem? Interesting question. David proposes an Earth Code, 18 governing codes for a regenerative future, and a framework called HOPE. We all need that. Health on Planet Earth. And when you run the code, you get the fourth world, the one that we forgot to build. David, big build up. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Neil. Great to be here. Look forward to a fabulous conversation.
Well, this is a mission. If ever I have heard or build here a mission, I mean, this is a mission. It's a mission of hope, regeneration, changing the world order, pretty much. Is it all of the above and more?
You know, when I was 12, I was riding a horse in Santa Barbara, and this worker was trying to learn English, and this worker dropped a plank, and the horse took off, and I leaned forward, and it was an old racehorse. It went faster, and I flew off and hit my head. And so that explains a lot.
So that was the beginning of the story, I guess. That was kind of where it all began, and everything became real. Was that the kind of the opening scene, I guess, to the movie that's David's life?
I don't know. I remember another slight story. My dad and mom, I invited them 20 years after I started the U.S. Green Building Council to our annual conference, and it was in Arizona. Monster stadium. We had 25,000 people, and Al Gore was our keynote. My dad turns to me, elbows me, and says, "Son, you always said you wanted to change the world. I'm proud of you." And so I wanted a different kind of life. Although it started very traditional. My first career as a real estate developer in Washington, D.C. I studied engineering. I wanted to be a businessman, make my money, make my mark. But somewhere along the way, my path went left instead of right. And I decided I wanted more out of life, more than just chase the buck. I call it PPM, passion, purpose, and mission. And on that last breath, whenever it might be, I wanted to feel like I planted seeds that grew and made a difference. And those seeds grew into trees, and the trees pulled the CO2 out of the air and kicked out to all of us and into our marketing fresh oxygen.
It's so powerful, isn't it? I'm just really curious, David, about a lot of people kind of get these ideas, don't they, of, greatness, legacy, being just, very purpose driven, and yet then fail almost at the first or maybe the second hurdle to actually deliver or achieve anything with regard to that journey. What's the difference with you then? What was it about you, do you feel, that kind of has enabled you to really see this through? Because this is now quite a long journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 35 years. Well, I'm tenacious. I mentioned engineer. We're different beasts. We love problem sets. We love math. We love solving problems. We really love that. When a problem we're encountered, immediately our brains are doing calculus and physics and solving, so the left side equals the right. And when it doesn't, we don't sleep. If there's waste in an equation, we go berserk. And I can't help myself. If I'm going to sleep and the faucet's slightly dripping, I can't sleep. I have to solve that problem. It's waste. And if I can't solve it, I'll put a pail under it and capture that water and use it for the plants. I had a management consultant father who I've mentioned, and this is his paperweight. I keep it on my desk. Do not confuse effort with results. He didn't care if you studied hard for your English test in 8th grade. He wanted to know if you got the A. It really wanted to know if you got the A+. So we're always driven, always push for performance and results. And I'm an early backpacker. I love Yosemite and climbing and nature. I'm a fly fisherman. I stand in creeks and rivers hunting down trout. We got brown trout from England, so thank you. I love brown trout. They go down and hunker down on the bottom. The rainbows, they come up. But I learned to love nature. I learned to appreciate circularity. I love to see the redwood that had fallen and it was decomposing and the new plants were coming out of it. It was putting new minerals into the soil to regenerate it. And I was a real estate developer, the first career, but I wanted to look at, okay, we make the buildings, okay, we charge the rent, we raised the money, we sold the building, we made good return on investment. But what good did the building do other than just capital? Did it when you walked in the front door, did it make your life better? I had this one idea once, I'll have a green life concierge at the front and they'll walk in, they'll take your blood, maybe do a poop test, saliva, DNA, and we'll know the beast that you are and see, well, you're low in vitamin D, you don't move your body enough, your resting heart rate is this, your body fat's this, what are your goals? Okay, I'll measure you every week. You walk in, let's put you on a good program. And so just by walking in the front door, we made you better. The daylighting made you more productive. The air had good quality to it, had thermal comfort. The glare was minimized. It radiated out good.
So what is it then, do you feel that, because this feels like it's so much more than just purely continuous improvement. Let's go back to that management consultant kind of phrase. It's a mantra, isn't it? Management consultancy, continuous improvement, which I totally agree with, but it's become a bit of a cliche. This feels like there's something more there. That feels like there's this kind of innate curiosity that's coming through from you in things, in everything, so that everything around you, there's an opportunity from it. Am I reading that right?
100%. This painting that I did behind me is called Radiance, but it's about the light. How do we make the light shine? How do we make it radiate? How do we make it renew our spirit? Everything's about light. But those electrons could also, to create them, could cause pollution if it's petroleum or gas or coal. How do you make those electrons renewable, but that they ignite your spirit? And what is your spirit telling you? I think it's divinely inspired. And do we hear that? Are you afraid to listen to that marketing message that comes inside you? I had it for years and I'd lock it up and say, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I want to be a real estate developer. I want to do deals. I want to make big buildings. I want to sell them. I want to have my own company. I want to have a portfolio. I'm on the path. I'm putting points on the scoreboard that they taught me. That's the scoreboard of what I call the second world. But I'm trying to move us to the fourth world. The third one is where we put others and said they have massive population and very little resources, but they actually have a small footprint, ecological, and they can teach us. But we want other types of wealth. But somehow, as a curious soul, you're right, I want to understand what's under wealth, value. What are those values? And do those values sustain life? Or do they kill life? Are they greed or ego driven? Our survival wiring of the past, somewhat Darwinian, is killing us. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you probably can go to a supermarket. You don't have to kill to eat. You probably don't have the tiger chasing you. It's at the zoo. Hopefully you have heat. A lot of this world doesn't have any of that, the have-nots, and I'd like them to have. But I keep studying. If someone's brilliant or smart, I listen. I look for mentors, people who could add points on the scoreboard. But what is the real scoreboard? Most of us here, if you're listening, we want to live. That's the bullseye. Then value ring 1, we'd like to breathe. We'd like to eat. We like to be safe. We'd like to have soil that can grow things, not dirt. And then the next value ring, we'd like to drive our car, listen to our podcast. The 5th value ring, David liked his snowboard, his fly rod, his blue bike, so he could road bike. You don't want value ring 5 or 4 to kill the bullseye, life and life sustaining. Then you say, well, okay, we're marketers. How does that message dovetail with bullseye life and life sustaining? Or is that thing going to kill life? Well, now you're not sleeping.
And that's the key thing about this, isn't it, really? And I know I've kind of felt this for, well, many years, since I guess I kind of woke up professionally to the fact that being in marketing for some 40 years, I was actually part of a major part of the problem, encouraging consumption, encouraging all the things that are flying in the face of what you're describing there, David. And I think part of the issue I had with it was, yeah, I'm actually contributing, but in a negative way. Okay, might be doing the numbers that, the businesses I work with or for tell me are the success measures, but actually I'm trashing everything en route to get to those numbers. And that is fundamentally wrong. It's fundamentally bad. And I think once you kind of open that Pandora's box, you can't shut it, because you know that from that point onwards, everything has to be different. So is it kind of then, again, I'm sort of thinking from a marketing perspective, but also from a human perspective, the one thing I'm picking up from you so far in this conversation is it feels that, yes, the achievement of the answers and getting to answers is important, but actually it's the questions that are really driving this. Because that's what I'm picking up from you, David, is the fact that it's the questions, that fascinate you, that drive you, that intrigue you, that make you curious. But actually, they're more important in lots of ways for making progress than actually hitting milestones or goals or targets.
It's a great observation. I do like milestones and targets. I cycle. I like climbing the mountain and taking the photo on the top. I do the death ride where we get to do 6 mountains at altitude in Tahoe and climb 15,000 feet, 5,000 meters at altitude. So I enjoy that. But I also do it because it teaches me about limits. And as you're going, those questions, the curiosity come up. It's about curiosity, yes. And it's about the questions. And it's about something my late mentor, David Brower, said. I gave him the 5 commandments for Earth, planet Earth. He challenged me to write. I wrote them. He said, these are great. I didn't think you'd ever do it. He was incredible. He was the first executive director of Sierra Club. He founded Friends of the Earth, League of Conservation Voters, one of the first mountain climbers on Earth, 61st ascents. Give him the 5. We're at a restaurant. He looks out the window. He's watching the seagulls dive bombing into the San Francisco Bay. And I thought, oh my God, I screwed up. He didn't like him. And he scratches his head and says, these are great, but I wonder what we've forgotten. So he asked a question, and he asked the most profound question that you have to ask yourself every project, every client, every day. When you think you nailed it, what did you forget? Well, we forgot so much here. And so that drives me too. We forgot life should be important. We forgot this gorgeous earth is our shared home. We forgot that those neighbors, the people in the other countries, other cultures, other races, other genders, they're our brothers and sisters. I mean, God made it so we can mate with each other. It works. And yet we create borders and boundaries and hatred and bombs that we drop on each other's heads. And my country's pretty bad at it right now. And I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. Because we're better than that. We should be as humans. But when you look up in the dictionary to be human, it says to be frail, to be weak, to cultivate nature, to be bountiful and multiply. That's in the Bible. But if you add the E into the word at the end, that's the vision, to be humane. And I call it the E-revolution. How do we create that? And through our marketing, your messages, how do you make life better? And in the book, I call it Accelerate Hope, capital H-O-P-E, health on planet Earth. So everything we do should accelerate hope, not minimize it, and not hoard for ourselves. Why I think these things, I don't know. Maybe it's that hitting the head. Maybe it's the engineering system. Maybe it's mentors. But don't we all want to live the best life we can and then define and question what is that? It's an onion, unpeel a layer. After you unpeel one layer, there's another one.
It's interesting, isn't it? When you kind of describe it like that, it feels to me then that by asking these kinds of questions, by kind of going a little bit deeper, by being curious, all of the things that we're talking about here, it invites collaboration. It feels, and again, from the way that you've defined some of your kind of highlights here, none of these were in isolation. You have your mentor, you've got Al Gore, you've got the big conference, you've got your father's comments, you've got being hit on the head. Everything kind of involved somebody else or some other kind of external scenario. So when we're asking that question of what did I forget, it feels a very collaborative kind of invitation into colleagues, friends, family, peers, clients, customers, whoever, other communities maybe that you haven't engaged with before, to kind of explore that question. What have I forgotten? Is such a great way of inviting collaboration. Do you think that's important to really make this work?
That's great. Yeah, there's a we here. There's a great book, I think it's Martin Buber, called I and Thou. And it's getting into these issues. Yeah, but where's the we here? This isn't my earth. This isn't my home. Yeah, you can buy land. Is that your land? I don't know. When the water hits it, it goes down to the aquifer below it, hopefully. Is that your aquifer? If we drain the water out of it, is it your water? It's not designed that well. We had the indigenous with the 7th generation principles that they didn't think they owned the land. They respected the land. The land had limits. It had natural circularity. If you study it, we should be part of that. We. So I said, we, not mine. And it's all about collaboration, because no matter how great you are, or you think you are, there's someone smarter, someone better, someone who could teach you something you forgot. And that could be a 3-year-old, because a 3-year-old sees the butterfly and just, you lost them. You lost their attention. They're flying with the butterfly and they see that magnificent colors. Maybe they see that metamorphosis that happens from the earlier stages of the butterfly. They're curious, where did it go? And they could teach us to get out of our heads, to play. Those kids are in the sandbox. They play with all kids. They don't care their language, their race, their gender, their color. It's play. As they get a little older and you take their red fire truck from them in the sandbox, they get angry and they say, mine. Somewhere they learn possession, and I don't know if that's self-learned or we teach them that. I don't know. We go from those beautiful, lovely kids into adults, but I believe we become dolts, not adults, dolts. And we lose play. We think we can't paint, we can't draw. Kids don't think that. They draw on the wall in your house. They paint on the carpet. They come home with mud all over them and think they're gorgeous. So everybody, my dog is the greatest teacher. When I come home and the dog, unfortunately, I was gone 6 hours, it doesn't say, where the hell were you? I'm pissed at you. I'm not talking to you. No, its tail is wagging and it's happy to see me. It's running little circles. It's like, dude, wake up. There's life here. So I'm just trying to wake up, and maybe through my words, wake others up. And through your words, wake me up, because I'm human too. I fail every day. And I know my own humanity mostly. Some of it, I'm still working. I'm a project in progress.
And we all are, if we're being brutally honest. I think, for anybody who says, "Oh no, I've ascended, I've transcended all of this kind of meaningless stuff, I'm enlightened," and this is like, yeah, right. You don't know what you don't know, because we're all on this journey, aren't we? I mean, let's face it. Do you think by kind of taking these sorts of, I guess you could call them mindsets, that what we're doing here is we're kind of giving ourselves permission to redefine success? Because I know on one of your tiers there of kind of the hierarchy of needs, kind of what you were describing, you said about the car and the bikes and the snowboard and those things. But actually, you moved very quickly beyond those to some other more important things. And I'm sure that was conscious, and absolutely it should be. But kind of, does that redefine what we mean by success? Because success, if we are going to be collaborative, if we are going to regenerate, if we are going to be responsible professionally and personally, kind of requires us to go way beyond just the typical monetary success, or, what's my job title, or, how big is that car on my driveway, or whatever. All of those kind of very sort of tangible, but let's face it, meaningless things really in the bigger picture. Do you think now is the fundamental time to redefine success?
Absolutely. And that's what the book is about. It's really about our scoreboards. At the World Cup, you look up, it says 2-1. Someone put 2 balls into a net. The other one had 1. They didn't measure how many times did they pass in the ball? How many up and downs the field did they have? In that case, it's measuring the right thing, but it isn't. There's all these unintended things we measure. We do measure net worth, which is assets minus liabilities. We love net worth. What's your net worth? It's billions. You're on the magazines and people want to be your friend, and it's a big burden, but I don't have that burden. But it is about the scoreboard, and I've been thinking more about it. I actually have like an email going out tomorrow. I'm a little scared about it, and talks about my dad again. It says he had he played the scoreboard right. He put a lot of points on it. He built a company, Management Consulting. He sold it to a firm that became PricewaterhouseCoopers. He flew airplanes. He played golf. We lived in a nice neighborhood. He worked very hard, lots of points. He was charitable. He was generous. He's my first mentor. The end of his life, though, the last 3 years, he was attached to an oxygen machine with a cord. He'd pull around his fancy house. And soon he didn't want to go out anymore because he had this little small oxygen machine. He never could breathe the last 3 years. I just can still hear him gasping for air. This beautiful, brilliant, genius, successful man. Successful. Couldn't breathe. He was a smoker. He had lung cancer. Lots of people smoked when he did. And here he is dying in hospice, unable to breathe. His family's around him. And so you made me think about net worth, self-worth, and a new term I invented, soul worth. And that term, hope, capital H-O-P-E. So he advanced in hope in a lot of ways. In some ways he didn't, and he killed his own health. And so there's a third thing here, is honoring the soul, but the soul wants health. The soul wants vitality. The soul wants collaboration. It wants to plant trees. We really, I believe, do want to do good here. And we really do want to define good. And we do have the intellectual capacity to get beyond the messaging that we were sold. And maybe we're still marketing that. What's the new messaging? And that messaging needs to be science-backed and grounded in nature, because that's Earth. At some point, maybe you can understand we are of nature, not here to cultivate it as a shopping supermarket, and to give back. If you don't replenish the aquifers, we die. If you kill the air, we die. We're killing ourselves in so many ways with climate change. And so we need new messages that help these young kids and others wake up that Earth is home. You are my brother or sister. We're in this together. And our purpose is to accelerate hope, health on planet Earth, and align those things. And if you don't have alignment, you should be restless to put points on that new scoreboard, which is very simple: life sustaining, make it better. And another part, appreciate and have gratitude. Appreciate the glory of this creation. It's magnificent. The colors, that tree falls, it regenerates the other one. The water hits the top of the mountain, comes down at the bottom clean. It's been filtered. We didn't just have all plants green. That beautiful cactus with the thorny things in the spring has this huge shaft coming out with beautiful flowers that are pink and purple. What the hell? It's not just all brown and green. There's more here.
Do you think, just listening to the way you're describing this, David, is that many of us, and I will say many of us, and put myself in this category, I'm trying to figure it out. So like you, obviously on a journey, but for many of us, we're almost putting our starting blocks for this race. And I will say it's a race because we are up against time, because if we don't do anything, there's going to be big issues. So let's just say it's a race. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But if I had to put down my starting blocks to begin this journey, maybe I'm, doing a career change, or maybe I've decided I'm going to take a sabbatical from my job, or so I'm kind of talking on behalf of others listening to this. And if they're at a kind of a point, maybe a crossroads in kind of work or life, and they think, right, I'm going to start again. Now, instead of then maybe doing the traditional approach, which is, okay, I need to get another job, or I need to get some customers or some clients so I can make some money, then I can do the philanthropy. So then I can do the stuff that's really meaningful. Actually putting the starting blocks down on a different kind of race, which says, actually, I'm going to define where I add most value. And then I'm going to start to get work that enables me to fund that journey. So it's almost switching it on its head. Rather than doing, I've got to make money first, then I can do it. Why don't we collectively start to think about where's the most value to be had here in terms of my skill set, what I love doing, kind of what the world around me needs, and then find a way of actually funding that, and maybe become very successful in a new definition of success by kind of reverse engineering it. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it feels there's an opportunity to rewrite the journey kind of pathway.
100%. But your key term there, the core of what you said, was value. Let's mine ourselves to find our true inherent genius. And that can create the value, which then can lead to the success. Absolutely. But that word value, we have to also look at and make sure it is value. You have the right to determine value yourself, but there's also societal value, civilizational value. It could be you're phenomenal at making bombs that blow people up, and right now that's a good marketplace. You'll get rich. We're just selling incredible amounts of munitions right now around this world. Unfortunately, it is sad, very sad that that's valuable. Why is it valuable? People are paying big money for it. We're also selling more renewable energy because this whole thing of shutting down, the strait, I don't know how to say it right, Hormuz Strait, is the oil can't get out. And so that makes solar and wind valuable. And so China's focused on that the most. They're smart. I don't want to get political, but I do want to just question value and to make sure it's grounded in what we've discussed, life sustaining. That's it. Those are, and health. There's also spirit and gratitude, and there's other types of value in that soul worth equation we didn't talk about. It's your kid who loves you. It's the quiet moment with your mom who's a senior, even if she has dementia, just connecting, holding her hand. Sunday was Mother's Day. 3 boys were there with my mom, and that was sweet. There was sweetness in the room. So there's lots of types of value. There's the beautiful morning and it's crisp. The sun comes up and there's a little dew on the grass and you feel that spark of life. It's probably mean fly fishing when I see the top of my rod go down and that English brown trout lunges at it, and jumps out of the water and sparks my soul. I feel bad. I hurt it a bit, but I let it go. That's an excuse. But you know what it does? It taps the wild in me and it teaches me about nature and wild. Where's the wild in you? And what is wild? It's feeling alive, feeling the beauty of life. And that's valuable. So all of those things wrap in determining success. But you're 100% right that I think all of us should add value, should dig deep in to find where we're brilliant. And I think every human's brilliant somewhere, not what others told us to do. Find your own. Maybe you're an investment banker, but you're love the guitar and the piano, and no one supported that or nurtured that. Maybe you wanted to paint your whole life. Maybe you're a gardener. I just love it. My brother became a lawyer and a therapist, but part of him wanted to be a national park ranger. He's a naturalist. Maybe, I'm sure he's adding great value in his occupations, but he comes alive under the redwoods. I would do martial arts, and I'm in the trainee program. On Saturdays, I help the kids. The first class is under 6 years old. And this past Saturday, I had 2 little boys, white belts, under 6, ADD, they're like this. And I couldn't believe how much fun it was just trying to train them to do an inward block or know tap their right leg instead of the left, and know right from left. And the parents are watching you, and maybe after the 30 minutes they could do the technique a bit. And it was just so rewarding. I don't quite know why, but some people want to teach, some people love kids, what is it that drives you, the listener here? What is it you're not allowing to blossom? I was a consultant for 20, 30 years, and rarely did I have a client who was like you, Neil, curious, open, good listener, great questions, take the conversation wherever it went. I always felt they were closed and narrow. Budget, schedule, risk. Okay, I got it. I knew it when I walked in the room. Fine. But what about brilliance, greatness, creativity, invention, shouting as loud as you can from the mountaintop? Why do I have to be so constrained minute one? I already understood all that. But I wanted to be great and brilliant and magnificent. And you're chicken. You're led by fear. That door couldn't open broad enough for your fear to walk in.
And that's often the problem. That's the problem, though, isn't it, David? Because we're kind of in this system that says be fearful. It rewards compliance with, again, we're not going to get political here, but we all have systems. You do in the US, we do in the UK, Europe has it. Everywhere has the system that you're meant to be part of. And it isn't always like this. It isn't always celebrating that freedom and creativity and questioning. It is about compliance. That's what we've been trained and brought up to do. And if you're compliant and you behave well and you add a bit of value, you're rewarded. It feels like this is really bucking the system. It's trying to create a new order of things where something different is rewarded. The starting point potentially is different. You might get to the same end goal, but the route can be different. Is that really what you're evangelizing? Because it feels like it is.
I mean, I'm a bit wild, and that trout sparked me a lot. And I refused to stop being the dreamer I was as a kid. I refused to comply completely. I'm not good at listening to the rules if I don't like the rules. At the same time, I believe in governance for society. I believe if you ruin the air, the water, the oceans, that's not good for all of us. So I believe in protecting the commons, and their governance is important. I love AI. It's insane. But AI could be neutral and help you accelerate bad fast and help you accelerate good fast. So we need some governance there. AI could help me make the bomb, and AI could help me invent higher level passive solar homes. So I understand it. When we come together, we need some rules and certainly governance. But I don't like those that squash creativity and genius. And there's a fine line, like, when you're in class, it's not good for every kid to be talking at the same time. There's a teacher who has a purpose. And that kid wanted to learn, couldn't hear because the other kid was, tapping him on the shoulder. So, but it is there is a duality here that's worth investigating. And one of those rings, the third value ring after life sustaining, was create civilizations, create government, create utilities that can produce the goods and services and safety we need. And those require rules and laws and governance. I don't want us to be Lord of the Flies. They had a lot of freedom, those young boys. Didn't go so well. So excessive freedom maybe is that. I remember reading another book. I think it was William Golding wrote some crazy book about all the mob violence that happens when you have. So, but at the same time, life has such vitality and we have such genius, whether it's DNA or who knows what, but when you stifle that, you can't breathe. You create your own prison that you stuffed yourself in. Maybe a parent said, don't do that. Be quiet, do your homework. I wanted to be when I was at Stanford, I was a pre-med, and I watched a few surgeries and realized I don't want to do that. And my brother had been there, it was economics. He said, don't do that. I said, Dad, they have this great creative writing program. I want to do that. I always wanted to write. I always kept a journal. He said, son, if you want to be a writer, you have to go to another college. I'm not going to pay for Stanford for you to be a writer because you're going to starve. So I didn't get to do it. Became an engineer, which helped me, obviously. And then at, I think it was 40, I finally wrote my first book. I hired a writing coach who taught memoir writing. And I gave myself the writing curriculum I always wanted. I did 3 memoirs with her. The first one was called Greed to Green. And that was a 10-year memoir of starting the green building industry. And it was fun. I did Greening My Life. What is a green life? And it was kind of the premise of, okay, you can do net zero buildings, but your life isn't green. You don't even know what it is. How do you score? So I created a 100-point rating system for David Get a Green Life. And I scored 53 on my first round out of 100 and started to work on it. And then this new one just is blowing it open. It's creating an operating system for the fourth world. And I thought, screw it. I'm just going to give Earth everything I got before the bus hits me, if it ever did. This is what I want to put into the world. It's all I got. There's a book, The Last Lecture, and it's about a Carnegie Mellon professor who has terminal cancer. I think he's a physicist. And they ask him to give his last class lecture, and he has a slide on everything of value and delivers it. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. And I'm not dying, hopefully, but I think of each day and time you mentioned as precious, and that we should put out into the world everything we got to contribute transparently. There's a chapter, no hiding. Put it out there. This is marketing. I'm marketing you right now. This whole podcast is marketing. We're talking about messaging and values. And what is marketing? It's a message to get you to do something. And so I'm putting it out there, but I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm that naked guy on the stage. And it's beyond that, where I'm giving you my medical physics and data. We're talking about a marriage that fell apart. which really hit me hard after 20 years. Close moments. It teaches through story. But it's all I have for you. And maybe people hate me for it. Maybe some will say, boy, he hit his head hard when he fell. But I want to have the real conversation while I'm living. I don't want to hear also your words when I'm dead in the eulogy. I'd rather hear it now to my face and celebrate life now together, collaboratively.
And what a wonderful legacy that is, because it's a living legacy. That's the point here, isn't it? As you say, it's not waiting till you're gone before you actually release something. It's actually saying, no, let's properly collaborate right here, right now. And here's my story. How do you want to engage? Or how and when can we add most value together by working together? Brilliant. Such a powerful message. I know this is available in October, but how can people kind of almost pre-register or, get in contact with you and find out more?
Yeah, thank you. It's available, the book, right now for pre-order. I would love if you could do it, because if I sell certain number, they'll put it on the bookshelves at Barnes and Noble, and it's based on pre-orders. You can go to Regen360.net, and I've got all the links there in my story. I was a host of 80 podcasts. They're there. It's regen.net. I'm sorry, regen360.net. And you can also go to Barnes and Noble or Amazon and put in Regen 360 book, David Gottfried will show up. But the website goes deeper. There's something in the book called Earth Code, and we'll create a workbook on that. And I'm seeding something called Regen Circles, where you could create a circle wherever you are to get these creative, regenerative souls together to nurture each other and create accountability. So we'll have, how does that work? How do you start one there? Playing off of Lean In Circles from Sheryl Sandberg for women, which there's 9,000 of them on Earth. So you can get more there as well.
Wonderful. What a great journey, David. It's just so inspiring and so interesting to kind of have all these different kind of approaches and opportunities. And I think a lot of people listening and watching this will be thinking, there's some questions in there I need to reflect on. And it is about reflection. So David, thank you so much for your time and inspiration today. Really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Neil. This was fun for me. And you and I connected before you hit record. This is a soul connection that's deep. I can see your eyes radiating. This is how I built the green movement. When I saw eyes like yours, you were in. It wasn't anything else. You're alert, you're curious, you care, you want to make things better. You're in. Let's go, man. We're going to do it together. So thank you.
And we'll encourage everybody else to click the link. You'll see it in the description below. Let's get some circles building. David, thank you.
Thank you.